Hello everyone, Mr. Miller here. Welcome to the June 2018 Edexcel Paper 1 walkthrough. Before watching any of this, you should have spent at least 90 minutes doing the paper, and then you should have marked your work using the mark scheme. This video should be for you to go through the answers that you were less confident with. So let's start the paper. Okay, question 1, we've got a fraction question. Work out 2 1/7 plus 1 1/4. It doesn't say give your answers a mixed or improper fraction, so that means that either is fine. So first thing I need to do is I need to convert these to improper fractions. So 2 1/7, I do 2 times 7, which is 14, add the 1, which is 15, so 15 over 7. I do the same thing for 1 1/4. 1 times 4 is 4, add the 1 is 5. Next, I need to convert to the same common denominator, so I can just do 7 times by 4, which is 28. So 28 goes on the denominator, and now I need to find the numerators. So first one, to get from 7 to 28, I times by 4. So 15 times by 4 is 60. Should be able to do that in your head. And then to get from 4 to 28, times by 7. So 5 times 7 is 35. And then I'm going to add them together. 60 plus 35 equals 95 over 28. Part B, work out 1 1/5 divided by 3/4. So again, I'm going to convert 1 1/5 to an improper fraction. So that is 6/5 divided by 3/4. And then I know that when I'm dividing fractions, I kiss and flip. So keep the first fraction the same, change the divide sign, and then flip the second one. Now I can multiply the numerators. So 6 times 4 is 24, and 5 times 3 is 15. Let's just check the question. It wants this as a mixed number. Okay, so I need to change that to a mixed number in its simplest form. So let's simplify this first. So I think I can divide both of these by 3. So I've got 8 over 5, and that is 1 3/5. So that is my answer to question 1. Let's move to question 2. In a village, the number of houses and the number of flats are in the ratio 7 to 4. Okay, so houses to flats, call that H, call that F. So houses to flats is 7 to 4. And the number of flats and the number of bungalows is 8 to 5. So flats to bungalows is 8 to 5. And it tells me there are 50 bungalows in the village. So a number of ways to do this one. Let's start off by writing my ratios a bit bigger down here. And 50 bungalows, so I'm going to put my 50 underneath the B for bungalows. So I think I can work out how many flats there are. So there are 80 flats. And if there are 80 flats, I can put that here underneath the 4. So to get from 4 to 80, times by 20. So 7 times by 20, 140. So my answer is going to be 140 houses. Next question. Renee buys 5 kg of sweets to sell. She pays £10 for the sweets. Okay, so she pays £10. She puts all the sweets into a bag. She puts 250 grams of sweets into each bag and sells each bag for 65p. She sells all the bags. Work out her percentage profit. Okay, profit. If it says profit, I think I need to work out the money I get minus the money I pay out, or the cost. So the cost is nice and straightforward. I think I saw that early in the question. She's paying £10 for the sweet. So I think my cost is 10. But now I need to think about the money that she gets. Okay, so how many sweets does she have? Well, she's got 5 kg, and each bag has 250 grams. So I need to work out the number of bags. Okay, so she's got, let's just represent this, she's got 5 kg, and then each of these kg, I don't know how many there are, but I think each is 250 grams. So I think I'm going to have to divide 5 kg by 250 grams. But to do this, let's convert 5 kg into grams. So I know there's 1,000 grams in each kilogram. So that is 5,000 grams. And now I'm going to do 5,000 divided by 250. So how do I do this? Let's cross off a 0. And I know that 50 divided by 25 is 2. So I think I've got 20 bags of sweets. Okay, she sells each bag for 65p. So what I need to do, I think I need to multiply that by 65p. So let's just do 65 times by 2, which is 130. And I need to add the 0, so that is 1,300p. But of course my cost is in pounds. So divide that by 100, and I'm going to get 13 pounds. So 13 pounds is the money I get, which is 13. So let's put the profit down here. So the profit, 13 minus 10, which is 3 pounds. So that's my profit, but I want my percentage profit. So to do this, remember, to get your percentage profit, you work out your profit, which I've worked out, which is 3, and then you divide it by how much you spent, or your cost, which was 10. So I'm going to do 3 pounds divided by 10 pounds, which is 0.3. You can see that that is 30%. So I write that on my answer line. So a bit of a tricky question. I put Corbett video 400p if you want some practice finding out percentage profit. But that last step, to get that percentage profit, you need to work out your total profit and then divide it by your cost. Next question. Okay, cycle race across America is 3,069.25 miles in length. Okay, so immediately I'm seeing that on a non-calculated paper, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to estimate it. So Juan knows his average speed is 12.12 miles per hour. Okay, so again, I'm probably going to have to round that. For his next race across America, he will cycle for 8 hours per day. Poor guy, I would not want to do this. Okay, so estimate, right? Estimate, that means round. So let's round all of these things that I got. And I think, let's just check. So I think this is going to be a distance, speed, time question. Miles, that is going to be a distance. And it tells me that the speed is 15.12. So let me just draw a distance, speed, time triangle. And I think I want to find out the time. So time is distance over speed. My distance was 3,069.25 miles. So rounding that to one significant figure, that is going to be 3,000 miles. Okay. And I'm going to divide that by my speed. Again, let's just round that to 15 miles per hour. And this is going to give me my time in hours. So I just need to do that calculation. So again, 30 divided by 15 is 2. And then add the extra 2 zeros, and that is my time in hours. But my answer says how many days will it take? Well, if in total it's 200 hours, and he's cycling 8 hours per day, I think I'm going to have to do 200 divided by 8. So let's do that and see what we come up with. So 8 into 20 goes 2 times. Remainder 4. 8 into 40 goes 5 times. So I think my answer is 25 days. Seems like a pretty sensible answer. Okay, then it says he trains for the race and the average speed he can cycle at increases. So it's now 16.27 miles per hour. So what's happened here? How is it going to affect my answer? Well, what's changed, I think, is my speed. My speed has increased. So I'm going to say his speed increases. Therefore, what's going to happen to the time? Well, my denominator is larger, so I think that my answer is going to be smaller. So the time is smaller. So I think it's going to take him, so it takes him less time because the time is smaller. That's all I need to say. Don't need to work out any calculation. I just need to say what's happened to my answer. Next. Okay, here is a solid square-based pyramid. Okay, square-based pyramid, VABCD. Okay, then it tells me some lengths. Okay, and it's asking me to draw a front elevation, and it's helpfully given me the arrow for front elevation. So I just need to think, what do I see when I look at this straight on the front on view? Well, I'm definitely going to see a base of 6. So let's just draw that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the base. And I'm going to think, how high is it going to go? How high is it going to go? Well, I think if I'm looking at straight on, the height of the pyramid, I think it's actually going to be 4 centimeters, not 5 centimeters, because 4 centimeters is from the bottom to the top. How high is it going to be? So let's just count up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think that's going to be my answer. That's going to be my front elevation. Part B, for 4 marks, the total surface area. Okay, so total surface area, I've got to work out the area of all of my faces. So let's start off with the base. Let's get my highlighter and let's work out this area here. So I know that the base tells me in the question it is a square base. So that's fairly straightforward. I think that's 6 times by 6, which is 36. And now I've got to think about my other faces here. So let's get a green here. So obviously this shape here is a triangle, but let's think about the dimensions. So I think the base is 6 because it's a square base. And this time, my height of the triangle, it's drawn on for me, is 5 centimeters. So my triangular faces, my triangles, it's going to be base times height over 2. That's my formula for area of a triangle. So 6 times by 5 over 2 is 15. Okay, well, how many of these do I have? Let's go back to my highlighter. How many of these do I have? Well, I've got 1 on the side there. I've got 1 at the back, so that's 2. 1 on this side, so that's 3. And then a final one here at the front, so 4. So I think I'm going to multiply this by 4 to get 60. So the total, I take the 36, add the 60, and I've got to make sure I remember my units here. There's probably a mark for units because it's surface area, centimeters squared. So we'll write that on the number line there. Okay, so not too bad. Move on to the next question. Okay, we got a pattern here on a coordinate grid made by squares. We did some similar questions to this in some feedback lessons recently. And the more I can draw on the diagram, the easier it's going to be. Okay, so it's given me point A and point B, and I need to work out point C. I think it's really important that it's made from 4 identical squares. So if I think about these lengths, which I don't know, they're the same. So because I don't know the length, let's create a variable. Let's call it x for the side length of the square. And let's mark on all of the other side lengths that might be useful. So that's x. Down here I've got x, down here I've got x, here I've got x here. Okay, so let's see what else I can figure out. Change to a blue here. So if I look at my x coordinates, that coordinate is 6, that coordinate is 32. So I think that the total distance across here is going to be 38 minus 6, which is 32. Okay. And what about this distance, this vertical distance here? Well, I'm going from 7 to 36. So 36 minus 7 is 29. Probably going to have to use one of those. Let's think about which one I'm going to have to use. Well, I actually think I'm going to use my horizontal distance, because if I have a look at my x's, I've got 1x, 2x, 3x, and 4x. So if I think about an equation here, 4x equals, well, what is that total horizontal distance? It is 32. So divide that by 4, and I have my value of x. I have my value of x. So now I just need to find out my coordinates of C. Okay, let's start off with the x coordinate. So change to a green. So x coordinate, I start off with my 6, and I go 8 along, and another 8 along, and then I get to my my point C. So I think it's going to be x coordinate. Start off with 6, add 8, and that gives me 22. So my x coordinate is 22. And how am I going to find my y coordinate? Well, if I start off from my 7 this time, that's going to be a bit of a problem, because I don't know, it's a bit question mark, I don't know what that distance is there. So I'm not going to start off with my 7. Instead, I'm actually going to start off from my 36. So if I look at my 36, I go down 8, and I go down another 8, and I get to my point there. So for my y coordinate, start off with my 36, minus 8, which gives me 20. So my y coordinate is 20. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, shape T is reflected in the line x equals minus 1 to give shape R, and then I reflect shape R in another line. Describe the single transformation that will map shape T onto shape S. Okay, so before I do that, let's draw in these lines x equals minus 1 and y equals minus 2. So remember, if I'm not sure if these are horizontal and vertical, I'm going to just list some coordinates that are definitely on this line. So my x coordinate is minus 1, so this coordinate is going to be on the line, this coordinate is going to be on the line, this coordinate is going to be on the line, because my x coordinate is always minus 1. So let's find those points. That is here, here, and here. So this here is my line x equals minus 1. So we can reflect shape T in this line. So start off with this point here. I go 1, 2 to the line, and then 1, 2 away from it. Perfect. This point up here, 1, 2, 3 to the line, 1, 2, 3 away from it. And then the final point here, just a different color. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is T. Not T, that is R. Okay, done the first part. Now, same thing with the line y equals -2. So I think my y coordinate is now -2. So all of these points are on the line y equals -2. So let's plot those points here, here, here. Drawing this line, should be using a ruler in the real thing. And now I'm going to do the same thing again. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's down here. Good news, it's on the grid. If it wasn't on the grid, I would have known I would have made a mistake, but looks like it's correct. So what is this shape? This shape is S. Okay, so I've done that part. Now the single transformation. So what are my transformations? It could be a translation, could be an enlargement, could be a reflection, could be a rotation. Definitely not a translation because the shape's in a different place or different orientation. Definitely not an enlargement because the shape's bigger or smaller. I actually think this is going to be a rotation. I think it's going to be a rotation. So you get your tracing paper, if you have it, and then you try out some different points that could be the center of rotation. So if you didn't have tracing paper, then it would be a little bit tricky. Let's get rid of these lines here. I actually think that if you did have tracing paper, your center of rotation would be that point there, -1, -2. So you need the center of rotation, -1, -2. And we will practice these rotations before the exam. They always come up. So center of rotation, -1, -2. And then the final thing I need is my my angle. So I can see it's been flipped upside down. So it is 180 degrees. And if it's been flipped upside down, I don't need my clockwise or anti-clockwise because it is the same thing. If it was 90 degrees, you would need to say if it's clockwise or anti-clockwise. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, perimeter of a right angle triangle is 72. So perimeter, distance around the outside, is 72. The length of all its sides are in the ratio 3 to 4 to 5. Okay, so got a right angled triangle. Let's just draw one out. And the perimeter is 72. And I think that the lengths of its sides are 3, 4, 5. I know that 5 is the longest one. It's the hypotenuse because the hypotenuse is the longest side. Now, a couple of ways to do this one. The first way to do it is you could say, okay, the sides in the ratio 3 to 4 to 5. So we can do a kind of bar model. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the whole perimeter is 72. And then 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 12. So each box is worth 6. Okay, so I can actually redraw my triangle. So 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. and 6 times 5 is 30. And so that is my triangle. And then what I need to do is find the area of the triangle. So area, base times height divided by 2. So 18 times by 24 dividing by 2. Let's just make it a little bit easier. Divide this by 2. So 24 times by 9. 18 plus 3 is 216. Just show you very briefly another way to do it. So what you could have said is you could have said that, okay, I know the side lengths on the ratio 3 to 4 to 5. So let's call it 3x, 4x, and 5x. And then they sum, so they sum to make 72. So then you would have found what x was, and then you could have said, okay, 3 times 6 is 18, 24, and 30. So same thing as we've got different methods, either way is fine. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so some indices questions here. So 36 to the power of a half. I know that this means square root. So square root of 36 is 6. Next one, anything to the power of 0 is 1. And then the final is a little bit trickier for 2 marks. So I got 27 to the power of minus 2/3. If I've got a negative power, then I need to flip the 27 and make the power positive. So that's my first step. Then I need to look at my cube root, my 3, which means cube root. So the cube root of 1 is 1. Cube root of 27 is 3. But I still need to square that. So that is equal to 1/9. So it's worth going on to Corbett 175 if you want some practice with your indices. Next question. Okay, box plot. Fairly simple. It gives me my least height, my greatest height, lower quartile, upper quartile, median. Okay, so just need to draw this on. So 1, 3, 3. By the way, you should be using a ruler. 170, 145, 157, and 151. Okay, so quite straightforward. Interesting, they gave that 3 marks for that, so that should have been a nice, easy 3 marks to get. Right, work out an estimate for the number of girls with a height between 133 and 157. Okay, so 133 is the least height here, and 157 is the upper quartile. And I know that between each of these points here, I've got 25%, or a quarter of all of the data. So how much do I have between 133 and 157? Well, I've got 75%, or 3/4. And it tells me in total, in the question, how many girls there are in total, 80. So I'm going to do 3/4 of 80. Well, 1/4 is 20. So times that by 3 and I get my answer of 60. Next question. Okay, circle question here. A and B are points in the circle. BC is a tangent to the circle. Okay, tangent. Could there be a right angle in here somewhere? AOC is a straight line. Angle ABO equals x. Okay, interesting. I don't see any x's in my diagram, so I'm actually going to draw that on. ABO. Well, I don't have a line here, so I think I might have to draw on a line and call that angle x. Quite often in these questions, you have to draw a line. Okay, so it tells me to find the size of angle ACB. So where is that? Let's just mark on ACB, question mark, that's the angle I need to find. Okay, so what do I have here? Well, it says tangent, and I think that OB is a radius. I've drawn that on. So I think I can say that this here is a right angle, so it's 90. But it says in the question, give reasons for each area you're working. So I need to say why that is. So I'm going to say a radius and a tangent are perpendicular to each other. That's good enough for a reason. Okay, next step. Well, within this triangle AOB, let's just highlight that triangle AOB. Can I find out any other angles? Well, I think I can. I think if I mark on my radii here, so OB is a radius, but so is that one there, AO. So what else do I know here? I think I know that this angle here is also x, because I've got an isosceles triangle. So let's put the reason for that. Base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal. Okay, well, if I know two angles in a triangle, I can work out the third. So different color pen up here. So what is that angle? Well, the angle sum 280, and I'm subtracting 2x. And the reason for that, angles in a triangle sum 280. So I'm getting closer here. Next one I think I can find out is, well, I've got a straight line here, don't I? I know this one. I think I can work out this one here. So I think I'm going to do 180 minus that angle that I just found out. Well, what is that? Well, 180 minus 180 is 0, but I've got minus x, which is positive 2x. So I think I said x, I meant 2x. So that is 2x there. So this angle here is 2x. And the reason? Angles on a straight line sum 280. Great. And now I'm finally in a position to find out that missing angle here. So got any colors left? Haven't used this light blue. So this one here, again, angles sum 280. I'm going to take away the 90 and I'm going to take away the 2x. So what is that? 180 minus 90 is 90. And I'm also taking away the 2x, so minus 2x. And I just give the reason. Angles in a triangle sum to 180 degrees. So that all kind of fell into place once I'd drawn in my missing length and I started finding out those angles. But a bit of a tricky question there. We did quite a lot of practice on this though during our circle theorems unit. Let's keep going. Okay, proof question. Again, we did this at the start of the year, lots of practice on this, so it should have been quite straightforward. Okay, prove that the square of an odd number, is always one more than a multiple of 4. Okay, let's start off with an odd number. Remember that my odd number is always going to be 2n plus 1, because 2n is even, and then one more than an even number is odd. But I want to square this, because it says the square of this. So I'm going to need to work out 2n plus 1 squared. Let's draw a box for this. 2n plus 1, 2n plus 1. 4n squared plus 4n plus 1. 4n squared plus 4n plus 1. Okay, 1 more than a multiple of 4. So if it says 1 more than, or 1 less than, or 3 more than, you're always going to try to put this multiple of 4 inside a bracket and then see if I get this one more left over. So if I just have a look at these two terms, I can take out the 4, close my brackets, and then add 1. So I think I'm almost there, because this is something that is multiplied by 4. So anything multiplied by 4 is a multiple of 4. And then this is adding 1. Therefore, my expression is 1 more than a multiple of 4. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, a third question. So it says something can be written in the form a root 10. Right, that root 10 is a big clue. Later on, we're going to use that. So let's write this out again. And I'm just going to expand brackets here. So root 5 times by root 8, that is root 40. And then root 5 times by root 18, well, let's just do 18 times by 5 over here. So that is root 90. So because it says root 10, that is a big clue that when I'm breaking down my surds here, one of the terms has to have a root 10. So immediately I can say root something root 10 plus root something root 10. So 10 times by what gives me 40? Well, 4. 10 times what gives me 90? 9. Root 4 is 2. And root 3 is 9. So I've got 2 lots of root 10 and then 3 lots of root 10. So 5 lots of root 10 is my answer, but it tells me what is A. So A is 5. Next question. Okay, direct proportion question. Again, did lots of this earlier this year, so hopefully we should have got lots of marks, and then there's only the final step that is a bit tricky. So y is inversely proportional to d squared. So step 1, let's write that out. Y is inverse, so k on the top and d squared on the bottom. Then when d is 10, y is 4. So sub those numbers in. 4 equals k over 10 squared. 4 equals k over 100. To find out what k is, times by 100. So let's rewrite that as y equals 400 over d squared. Okay, step 2. D is directly proportional. So D is, I'm not going to write k. I'm going to choose another letter for my constant. So k if you wrote k, but I'm just going to write mx squared. X is 2, d is 24. So 24 equals mx squared. So 24. 2 squared is 4. So m is 6. So d equals 6x squared. Okay. Right, write a formula for y in terms of x. So what does my answer need to look like? Y equals something x. So for my final step, let's start off with y equals 400 over d squared. I've started off with that because I want y equals something. So that seems to be like a sensible place to start. But the problem here is that I got y in terms of d, but I want y in terms of x. But I know a formula for d. I know a formula for d. So d equals 6x squared. So I'm going to substitute that in. So instead of d, I'm going to write 6x squared. But that is what d is. I think I'm going to want to square that because it is d squared. Okay, let's do some working out. So I need to be careful with this next step. So I'll do some working out over here. 6x squared squared, well, that is 6x squared times by itself. So 6 times 6 is 36. X squared times x squared is x to the power of 4. So 436x to the power of 4. Almost there in its simplest form. So can I cancel out? Well, yeah, I can. Both of these things can be divided by 2. So 200 over 18x to the power of 4. And I can divide by 2 again. 100 over 9x to the power of 4. And I can't simplify any further. So let's rewrite that as y equals 100 over 9x to the power of 4. So a nice 5-mark proportion question there. Let's keep on going. Okay, factorize. A squared minus b squared for 1 mark. Well, this is a classic difference of two squares. So I'm going to write a plus b, a minus b. Then it says hence or otherwise. Okay, so hence, meaning using our answer, or otherwise, simplify fully this thing here. Now, I imagine what most of you would have done is multiply out the brackets here using box method. So I'll just do this method. I'll do this method, and then I'll show you the kind of shortcut. If you did this method and did it correctly, you would have gotten all the marks. So you get the x to the power of 4 cancel each other out. You've got 8x squared, subtract negative 4x squared, and then 16 subtract positive 4. So plus 12. So that's your answer, but there's actually a cooler way to do this. So I'll show you this very quickly. So you know that a squared plus a squared minus b squared is a plus b, a minus b. So if instead you said, okay, a equals x squared plus 4 and b equals x squared minus 2, well, what you could do here is you could write this as a plus b, a minus b, where a is x squared plus 4, so that is a plus b, and then a minus b is that thing there. So that is a plus b, a minus b. Now, if we simplify this, well, we get x squared plus x squared is 2x squared, plus 4 minus 2 is plus 2. And then in the second bracket, we have x squared minus x squared, and then 4 subtract negative 2, so that is just 6. And then if we expand that out, 6 times 2x squared is 12x squared, plus 12. So we get the same answer. You might think it's easier to do my first method. Probably is easier to do that, but I'd show you both methods just in case. Okay, next question. There are only red counters, blue counters, and purple counters in a bag. So red, blue, purple. Okay. The ratio of the number of red counters to the number of blue counters is 3 to 17. So red to blue is 3 to 17. Sam takes at random a counter from the bag. The probability that the counter is purple is 0.2. Okay, so purple is 0.2. Work out the probability that he takes a red counter. Okay, so I've got red counters, I've got blue counters, and I've got purple counters. And I know that purple is 0.2. So I think that red and blue must sum to make 0.8. Sum to make 0.8. And I need to split the ratio 3 to 7. 3 to 17. I need to split that ratio so that they sum to make 0.8. Okay, so 3 plus 7 is 20. So to find out what each part is worth, I think I'm going to have to do 0.8 divided by 20. 0.8 divided by 20. Well, 0.8 divided by 2 is 0.4. So I think this is going to be 0.04. So I'm going to have to multiply each of these by 0.4. So red is 0.12 and blue, do 17 times by 4, is 0.68. And let's just check, do they all add up to 1? So let's just check. 0.12 plus 0.68 plus 0.2. Yes, they do sum to 1. And it asks me for the probability that he takes a red counter, so 0.12. Done. Next question. Okay, simplify fully. I've got a fraction, so I think I'm going to have to factorize both the numerator and the denominator. So let's do the numerator first. 3x squared minus 8x minus 3. This is a quadratic, so two numbers that multiply to make 3 times by minus 3, so minus 9, and add to make minus 8. So what are those numbers? Well, what are the factors of 9? Well, 3 and 3, it's not that, or 9 and 1. I think it is that. And one of them has to be negative, one of them has to be positive. It's going to be minus 9 and 1, because minus 9 plus 1 gives me minus 8. So let's rewrite this. Let's rewrite this as 3x squared minus 9x plus 1x, just plus x, minus 3. And I'm going to factorize both sides. So this factorizes to make 3x x minus 3 plus, well, when I can't factorize x minus 3, I'm just going to write 1. So 1 brackets x minus 3. And that's a good thing. I've got x minus 3 in both. So it's going to be x minus 3. And what do I have left over? Well, I've got 3x plus 1. Okay, so that's the numerator. And then on the denominator, I've got 2x squared minus 6x. So I think that is linear factorizing. So I can take out a 2. I can also take out an x. And then I've got x minus 3. Okay, so I can rewrite this as x minus 3, 3x plus 1, over 2x, x minus 3. We had a similar question in the last paper, and it's good news that I can cancel out something. If I can't, I'm definitely going to be wrong. So my answer is 3x plus 1 over 2x. So 3x plus 1 over 2x. Let's keep on going. Now, here is a graph of y equals sine x. Now, we haven't done this in class yet, so don't worry, we will cover it. It wants us to sketch the graph of y equals sine x minus 2. So this kind of transformation, if it is minus 2, that means I need to shift everything down by 2. So to do this, so this point here goes down by 2, so it's here. This point here, well, that is 1, so that's going to go down to -1. This point here is going to go down to here. This is going to go down to here, down 2, and this here. So I just need to connect all of these points up. Oops. Try that again. And great. That's that question done. So we will do this in class, but that is how we would do this question here. Okay, question 19, 5-mark question. I got the point P, I got the point Q, and it tells me a line perpendicular. Okay, this is important. Perpendicular means right angles. It also means something about the gradient. It means that the gradients are going to be negative reciprocals of each other. So a line perpendicular to this point, this PQ, is given by this equation 3x plus 2y equals 7. So I think that my first step is going to be to find the gradient of this line. 3x plus 2y equals 7. Find the gradient of that line. Well, to find the gradient, I know I need to get it in form y equals mx plus c. So make y the subject. So how do I do that? Let's get this 3x onto the other side. So 2y equals 7 minus 3x, and then divide by 2. So I got y equals 7 over 2 minus 3 over 2x. Okay, so what is the gradient of this line? The gradient of this line is minus 3 over 2, because that's the coefficient of x. So the negative reciprocal of this is 2 over 3. So I think that this is the gradient of PQ. That's the gradient of PQ. Now, step two. Okay, I've got 2 coordinates and I know what the gradient is. So let's remember the formula for gradient. So my formula for gradient from 2 points is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Change in y over change in x. So let's write down x2, x1, etc. onto my point. So 3x1, let's call this x1 and y1, and let's call this x2 and y2. Okay, so what is y2? y2 was b minus y1 was 4 over a minus 3. And I know that this is equal to the gradient, which is 2/3. Okay, so it tells me to find an expression for b in terms of a. So what does my answer need to look like? Well, b equals something a. So I need to do some rearranging with this. I think it makes sense to cross multiply. So what is this? 3 brackets b minus 4 equals 2 brackets a minus 3. Let's expand. 3b minus 12 equals 2a minus 6. And I need to get the b on by itself. So how do I do this? Well, let's get rid of this minus 12. Continue up here. So I've got 3b equals 2a. Now minus 6 plus 12 is plus 6. And then finally, divide everything by 3. So b equals 2a plus 6 all over 3. And that is my answer. b equals 2a plus 6 all over 3. So, a bit of a tricky question here, but that keyword perpendicular was really important. That helped me find the gradient that I was looking for. And then I could set up an equation and do some rearranging. So that got me my answer. Final question, let's go. So here's a final question. N is an integer. such that 3n plus 2 is less than or equal to 14, and 6n over n squared plus 5 is greater than 1. Okay. Find the possible values of n. So an integer means it's a whole number. Okay, so I need to find the possible whole numbers. So let's start off with 3n plus 2 smaller than or equal to 14. So I think this is a fairly easy one to solve. So I know that n must be less than or equal to 4. But the next one is a little bit harder. So let's write out 6n over n squared plus 5 is bigger than 1. Now, whenever I've got something in the denominator, I need to multiply by that denominator. So I'm going to multiply by n squared plus 5 on both sides. So on the left-hand side, I've just got 6n. And 1 multiplied by n squared plus 5 is just n squared plus 5. So I think this looks like it's a quadratic inequality. So because it's a quadratic inequality, I want to get 0 onto one side. So that's minus 6n from both sides. 0 is bigger than n squared minus 6n plus 5. Okay, what do? Well, I'm going to have to factorize this. So I want two numbers, multiply to make 5, add to make minus 6. So I think they both have to be negative. I think they have to be minus 5 and minus 1. Because minus 5 times by minus 1 is 5. And when you add those two, you get minus 6. So let's write this as 0 is bigger than n plus 5 and minus 1. So n could be 5, n could be 1. Okay, so quadratic inequality, I'm always going to plot this on a grid. So 1 and 5 go there. And because it's a quadratic, it looks like this. So what do I want here? Well, what I want is for this n minus 5, n minus 1, and it's actually needs to be less than 0. It needs to be less than 0. Because if you look at the inequality sign, the 0 is bigger than what I've got. So n minus 5, n minus 1 is less than 0. So because it says less than 0, I think I'm looking for this region here underneath the axis. Let's go back to my pen and let's write this as 1 less than n less than 5. Okay, so my final step, what I need to do is I need to combine these two inequalities. And the way that I showed you in class, I quite like this, is put this on a number line. So here's a number line. My first one, I want n is less than or equal to 4. So I want all of these numbers there. And then my second one, n has to be between 1 and 5. Okay, so what numbers do I actually want here? Well, I want the numbers, I think, in between this 1 and 4. But which numbers can I have? Which numbers can I have? Well, could n be 1? No, n can't be 1 because n has to be bigger than 1. But I think n could be 2. I think n could be 3. And I think n could be 4 because n could be less than or equal to 4. So I think these are all my answers. So I'm going to write them as n is 2, n is 3, or n is 4. And I am done. Thanks very much for watching. Hope this video was useful, and see you for the next one. Bye-bye.